Hello, I'm Mike Harbour. I'm an Andis animal educator, and today we're going to clip a weather dam. This doe we've selected to trim. We're going to slick shear her just like you would do your weathers in your market classes. We do clip our weather dams. We leave some hair at some shows, or we slick shear them at others. Today we're going to choose to slick shear this doe. Our blades of choice that we're going to use today are our 4FC and our 5FC from Andis. These blades are full tooth. They actually leave the hair anywhere from a 1/4 inch to about 3/8 of an inch. Most of our weathers, we don't shear them slick to the skin. We want to leave a little bit of hair on them. So my blade of choice on shearing weathers and weather dams is our 5FC. It's going to leave it about 1/4 of an inch long. We shear them a few days out, 3 or 4 days out before the show. To me is pretty optimum. That way everything kind of smooths out once we get them clipped. If we have any gaps or mess ups right there, then that gives us a little time for everything to smooth out. Few things that we use whenever we're getting ready to shear, we always have some cool care. This product here, yeah, it lubricates and cools our blades, but it's also a viricide and fungicide. And in these goats, we all know that fungus is always an issue. At these shows, I think a lot of times we don't take care of our equipment at home, and so we clip a goat that might have a ringworm or staph and don't know it. And that's how we spread everything. So we constantly use the cool care, which is going to help, prevent some of these issues that we run along. So, ideally we spray our blades. We also use this on the headpiece before we put the animals on the stands. We take it to the shows, use it at the shows as well on our headpieces, any kind of brushes, combs that we use. Just try to prevent it. It's always a great preventative measure. One thing we do before, of course we've washed and conditioned this goat. We want to try to use, this doe has a lot of cashmere on her. Cashmere is that real soft down, the fine stuff that's within the hair. And they handle great when they have a lot of cashmere, but one thing about it is it makes it harder to clip. If you're using some large blades, sometimes that cashmere gets between the comb and the cutter and the blades won't clip. So we do have an Andis shedding comb right here. You can run it through her and you can see how that cashmere is coming right out. If you take a little time to prep this doe before we shear it, or your weather, we see it on weathers as well. We can get this cashmere off and it'll just make the clipping process just go a little bit faster. But we can see that cashmere coming right off, as well as taking some of those guard hairs out. But this is a really good tool to use here. We're going to start, as we start clipping this goat, we're going to start clipping on the head. And that's one area I always try to start with. A lot of times, first place a young person or an adult starts clippings right here, right down the back. That's actually the last place we're going to leave, because that's the most important on this show animal as far as the judges touch and handle. And so everything that comes off that head and everything in the environment, the last place we're going to do is shear down the back, so we've got a fresh, clean area right there. We can blow them off and put the blanket on. On the head, we're going to use our 5FC. Again, this is about a 1/4 inch blade. On a doe, we don't really like peeling the whole face down. Breeding does, what we want to have the Roman or the rounded head, shape head as far as the boar breed character goes. So we're going to take some off the top here. I'm going to leave this face right in here. Of course, we've clipped her cheeks and under her chin before we put her on the stand, and that way it's done and we don't have to worry about it later. We're going to take the top of her head off right here as far as the hair goes, and give that doe that rounded hair look, her head look. We'll also clip up the back of the head around the ears, and we're going to use the 5FC. This is about a 1/4 inch blade. As we take the top off right here, it just gives that doe that rounded look to her skull, which is desirable in the boar breed. Even though she may be showing as a market doe or in with the market weathers, I still would like to do that and kind of give her more of a feminine and boar look to her. clip a little around the eyes here, take some of that off. Again, right here on from her eyes to her nose, we're going to leave that area. As you can see, all that hair is going to be landing on her back, so that's why we leave their back to clip last. That way it's good and clean and we don't have a lot of excess debris and dirt. Some young people, when they go to the wash rack, they forget to wash the head. That happens a lot with inexperienced, especially young people that don't do any of the clipping. So if you're doing the washing, you want to always wash the head. That's a great place to dull your clippers blades if you don't get the head washed. All right, after we get the head completed, we're going to move around to the front end. I always like starting on the front end on the body. That way, if you've got a goat that's if this is the first time you're clipping your goat, if you start back here, they're going to have a tendency to be jumpier and fight you a lot more. We can always start up here on the front shoulder, as well as if we have excess oil or anything on our clippers. I'd rather it come off on the shoulder than back here on the hip, or definitely on their, we don't want it coming off on their top line. We're going to use this 5FC. You can see the hair's coming off extremely quick. I think this is a very desirable length for our market goats. Today we got them on our Pulse ZR2s, which is an excellent cordless clipper, has a great run time. Changeable batteries, rechangeable batteries. A really good clipper. You'll notice right here I'm leaving this forearm. We're going to clip up the shoulder. We'll come back and blend this in after we clip the shoulder, get the chest floor done and stuff. And we'll blend this forearm into the knee. I think that kind of separates a lot of people on a really high quality clip job, is how well you blend the knee into the forearm and then the hock into the stifle. Just get everything blended together. A good blend job, you don't have any lines. You can't really tell where it starts and where it stops. All right, we'll come back and finish that here in a minute. On a goat, the hair grows down their side. It doesn't grow straight down. It grows at an angle from the ground level all the way up to the shoulder. And so when we clip the side of this goat, you know, we want to start pretty low and then work at this natural angle. We're going against the hair. And it'll come off in a good, solid path there. And if we go at this angle, it really makes it a lot easier to get this goat smooth. You can see the cashmere coming off. We've taken a lot of it off with the Andis shedding comb. Yeah. That is really smooth. I think that's an ideal length for showing these market goats. Okay, we'll go back here. Once again, we'll spend a little more time, come back to the back leg and blend that in. Okay, we got the side of this dough done, or front end. Now we're going to go underneath and trim the underline of this dough. We'll also trim between the front legs. We want to take that a little tighter as we get in, you know, the natural width of these goats. We want them blown apart. We want them to stand wide and square. And so as much as we can take off between these front legs, when that judge comes around and gets a front view of your goat, we'll clean that chest floor out, just give that optical illusion that that goat's, you know, as wide as we can make him. We'll take our underline just a tick short back to the navel. We'll go a little shorter than our 5FC. We might use a T84. I don't like using a 10 blade and going completely close to the skin. We'll leave a little hair there, or you can use a 7FC, which is about a 1/16 of an inch on that blade, but we'll trim back to the navel. From the navel back, I want to leave that just a tick longer, maybe, you know, our 5FC, or even on a doe, we want some more natural depth of flank in this rear part of the goat, the rear flank here, so we might go with the 4FC. Smaller the number, the longer hair you're going to leave, so we may go with our 4FC. You can even use a guard, like a 2 guard with a 9 blade on it. To do this rear flank to add a little more depth in this dough. But right now we're gonna use our T84. I like using this blade kind of from the navel forward, the center part of the belly forward, and get between the front legs and in that chest floor. Again, I always spray with the Cool Care. This helps lubricate, it helps fight our fungus and our viruses. We definitely want to oil our blades. That's not, in my opinion, that's not a total substitute for oiling our blades. We still have to put a good high quality Andis oil on them to get them oiled. But we'll come around and start clipping this belly. Now you do want to always be observant of your clipping rules to show you're going to. Some shows have rules where you cannot block your goats or have any deviation in hair length, you know, from their knees and hocks up. And then there's some that you can clip them however you want. So you always want to clip according to your show rules. That way you don't have any issues come up. But today we're going to take her belly a little bit shorter in her chest floor. Now I'm not going to go up high to where you actually see a line. I'm just right on the underside, about that wide from the chest all the way back to the navel. We're going to take it shorter. I don't want it to come up real high on the side. In fact, to make sure we don't, we're going to go back to our 5F and take a little bit of that belly off right there so we can see where we're going with it. The navel should be about right in here. The great part about clipping is you can always cut more off. You can't put it back on. So, you know, we'll start a little longer and then we can take it down and get shorter as we go. We'll see right here, this All right, we're done with the 5FC for now, and we'll go to our T84. The T84 is a really good blade. It leaves hair a little bit longer than a T10 or a 10 blade. We got the T shape. These are actually the same width as like your wide clipper blades. And so it just makes things a little bit faster. When you clip the belly, the hair in the front part of the belly grows towards the back, and the hair in the back grows towards the front. So that's always a little bit of a challenge, trying to go the right direction and get everything clipped down even and smooth. Again, I don't want to come up and show a distinct line there. I think that takes away from the balance and look of your animal. You can kind of back drag that a little bit to blend in your T84 into the 5FC. Come up here on the front end. We're going to take this out in that chest floor. Again, we want them to stand really wide in that chest floor. And so I'm going to take all that hair off with my T84. We're going to back drag this down the inside of the front legs, which it comes real close to being, you know, the same shortness as if you just turn it around and go the other way, but that helps blend everything in, gives it a more natural look versus just turning around and peeling it off. Takes a little practice, but that's what the 6-month feeding period's for, is we practice clipping these goats. We practice showing them and getting them ready to go to a show. And so the only way to learn how to clip one is to get after it and learn and just... All right. Okay, we got the chest floor clipped, our side of this doe's clipped, we've got the neck. We're going to work on blending this forearm in and getting the rear flank trimmed up right there. The forearm, the natural forearm and muscle, you know, a lot of judges look at that. That's your natural indicator of muscle is how big the forearm is. So ideally, we may not take it down just quite as tight as we would the body. We'll leave a little hair there, a little fullness. You know, I've seen kids that go to a show and they've done nothing from here down. And that doesn't add a look to your goat. It just makes it look like you forgot to shear them. I've seen where they forgot to shear the head, and we don't want to do that at all. It just makes you look like you've showed up to a goat show for the first time. And so we're going to blend this in. We're going to use like the 4F. You can also use a 2 with a 9 blade, a 2 guard, but I like using a 4F and try to blend that into the shoulder. We're going to start blending down to the knee, about right here, right above the knee, and just try to make everything blend and look as good as we can. This is the 4FC. I'm not going to go straight to the skin with it. I'm going to kind of comb this hair and take a little off at a time if I can. She's got a lot of cashmere right there, so you can get your shedding comb and pull some of that out, and that'll help. As we go up the forearm, I'm getting a little closer to the body, and then eventually right up here we're touching skin to blade tip. All right, we can go down. You see how that blended in there nicely? We still left some volume right in here. I think that's a real critical spot, because if we take this and dig it out and get it close to the skin, that makes your goat look finer boned and makes your goat look like it's got a smaller forearm. You know, it's that little spot, this little area right here, I think can make a big deal, a big difference. Especially we haven't been working this gal's leg hair lately. But if we were rotor brushing it or popping it every day, we'd have some more volume to it, and that would help that situation right there. We can come back like with a medium blending. This is a good wide tooth blade to get those stray hairs and knock them off pretty quick. Some people will use super blocking, but if she stomps or moves, whatever super blocking touches, it cuts off. And so, you know, my blade of choice on this still is a medium blending. It's a little more forgiving. It has a bevel to it. And so if she does stomp into the blade, then we won't gap her near as bad as we would if we used a super blocking. We can get this swirl. Every goat has a little swirl here on the back of their forearm. Get that taken off. You can come around, use the same blade to kind of take down the front of the knee. That gives her a more correct stance. That way she doesn't appear to be over on her knees just because she has a little hair sticking out right there. So take that out and make that more correct. All right, well, that's a good straight front leg right there. We've left a little bit of volume to that from her knee to her mid forearm. We didn't take it all down, and most of our selection on these goats is done from the profile. You know, the judge may come in and handle them, do a butt view to begin with, but after that, pretty much everything's done on the profile or the side view. And so we want this leg to have more dimension from the side. And just by leaving a little hair right here and a little bit back here, that gives that front leg, make it look more massive, make that forearm look bolder and bigger. Okay, now we're going to go back and tackle the rear flank. You know, today's trends, doesn't matter what species we're showing, the trend today is we want them shallower chested and deeper in the rear flank. So they want to funnel back like that and get deeper, and that's why we didn't go in here and just peel that out. Because when you do, you raise the flank in one and make them high flanked. That's something that's not desirable in today's trends in the show ring. So we're going to take this down really slow. Again, you know, you can always cut more off. So we're going to take our time on this. I'm going to take like a number 1 guard and a 9 blade, and we'll take that down and just kind of knock some of the fullness out of it. And then we can get shorter and shorter as we go. When we start using guards, which guards here is It gives it space between the skin and the clipper blade. The blade I prefer to use with the guard is a 9 blade. A lot of people use 10s, and that's fine. 10s, there's more teeth, and so if you have a denser hair coat on one or fleece on one with a lot of cashmere, it might not feed through the guard. It'll feed through the guard, but it might not feed through the clippers quick. And so a 9 blade has less teeth, so there's more space, and it just, to me, it seems to feed this goat hair through a lot faster and a lot easier. You can get a few tracks using a 9 blade, which that's kind of lines in the hair. But if you go over it a few more times, I think you'll be good. But we're going to start out with like the 1 guard, which is leaving it about a 1/2 inch, or does leave it a 1/2 inch long. And so we're going to start there and work on this rear flank. And we can see right away that, yep, we're going to have to take it down some more. But this is a good place to start. I mean, again, we want to go by our rules, make sure that you're able to do this. If not, if it says completely slick from hocks and knees up, then we'll have to go ahead and take that out. But right there, I like back here by the udder. We may leave that with the 1 guard. And then this area right in here, we're going to take it down. We can go ahead and go to the 2 guard, which that's going to take that a notch closer. It's a 3/8. Now as we're taking it down closer, it's starting to blend a little better. Okay, I like how we're coming forward with it. We still are a little long right in here. So I might switch over to my 4FC, which is it's about a 3/8 as well, but I think we can take a little, you can see a little more hair coming off right there. Now that's starting to blend together. You gotta remember the hair's growing this way, so if we go against it, it's gonna come off. So as I go back, I kind of move my clippers out. That way we don't take too much off further back. And all right, I think that blended in pretty good. Take some off the backside. All right, I like the way that looks right in here. We're gonna clean this up as well. We'll go back to our original, our 5FC that we started with. We sheared the body with. Now we can start cleaning this up, and then we'll tie this hock into the lower stifle. She's wanting to dance a little bit on us. Okay, right now as I come up that lower stifle from the hock, I'm not going to dig it out. I'm just going to try to take off what I want and leave what I want, and just be real smooth about it. You can even come back the other direction and comb that hair with it, and you can see some's coming off. But that helps blend that hock together. Again, we don't want a distinct line, and we don't want to dig that out. We want everything to be smooth. I'm just going with the hair right there to kind of blend, comb that. If you don't quite take enough off, you can go against it. I know a lot of people have difficulty clipping between the back legs, and that's, you know, you can tell this doe's dancing around. She don't want to be touched back there. One trick that I use is just raise the goat up on your leg, and then you can get under here and clip, and that way they aren't fighting you most of the time. We'll just clip around and get this stifle and try to get him trimmed up as quick as you can between the back legs. And you might not be able to get everything off of her, but there we go. Okay, as we look at this doe, we left a little flank hair in here. We'll probably come back with our medium blending and clean some of those long hairs up. We've got her stifle done. We blended that pretty good right there into the hock and into those back legs. Okay, I'm gonna take my medium blending now and try to clean up around in her udder and just get that long hair. Okay. All right, now we go back to we've got the front, the neck, the head, the sides done. We come back to the tail. We've still got the top line to do. There's a lot of different ideas about the tail. Some people will grab it and slick it down and just clip everything off from here towards the front of the goat. To me, I like leaving just a little fullness to this tail. I don't want it slicked down completely tight. So we're going to go with the length of the hair, or the direction of the hair. I'll go back to my 5F that we clipped the body with. We're going to trim up and shape up around here. As you can see, I'm going with the hair just to take some of the fullness out, not peel it off totally slick. Okay, now we'll go back and trim up around the tail. We've taken some of the volume out of it. We're going to use our T84 blade, and again we're using the Pulse ZR2 cordless clippers. Probably my clipper of choice right now. I love these clippers. They give you the freedom of a cordless, yet they last forever, it seems like. But we're gonna clip right under the tail, right here on the pin bones. Just take that a little shorter if she'll let us. Get some of this hair on the edge of her tail. Again, if she kind of fights you, wants to dance, we may put her on her leg and get that cleaned up a little bit better. But I like under the crease of her tail, kind of taking that shorter. We don't want to leave any lines or anything, but we can still take that down just a notch. There's some swirls right here between the back legs that we'll work on and try to get them trimmed out just a little bit. Okay, that looks better. And again, there's all different ways you can do a tail. That's just my preference and my personal way of doing it. If you want to slick it off, well, feel free to slick it off. But this is kind of the way we do it around here. Blend this. It's got a little bit of a knot right there. All right. Okay, we got the front leg blended. We left some flank hair. We've got the belly taken down tighter. We did her side. We've got her head and neck done. Now we're gonna trim the top line. Again, that's to me the most important part when the judge comes and handles your goat, because that's about the only place they touch them is right down the rack and through the loin. And so we always save that to last. That way all this extra hair and dirt that we're getting off of them, we can go ahead and shear that off when we clip the top line. Again, we'll go back to our 5FC. We want to spray them in case we hit any fungal spots or any staph or bacterial spots and didn't know it. We're going to clean these off. We'll oil them good, or oil them a little bit. Again, the hair is going to grow straight down the back, so we'll start out here on the edge. Try to take it off in a good fluid movement. The longer and smoother your passes are, the better clip job you'll do. Great thing about the 5FC, you can go back over them as many times as you need to get them smooth. If you've got lines. I like trying to get it as close as I can down the center of the back. There's always that little ridge of hair that grows and wants to lay super tight against the spine and down the center part of the back, so you may have to kind of angle your clippers back and forth just a little bit, just so we can make sure we get that stood up and clipped off the same length as everything else. All right. Well, this is the way we'd clip a weather goat or a weather dam if you want a slick shear. Again, we've used our Andis Pulse ZR2 cordless clippers. We've used a 5FC, a 4FC. We've had a T84 on here quite a bit. We've gone to our 9 blade and used our guards, the Andis guards that clip on, and a medium blending. So we've used a variety of blades to get this goat clipped out, and hopefully you learn kind of a smooth and easy way of shearing your market dams, weather dams, or your market weather goats. Thank you.